Now is the time to introduce rice and dal along with vegetables. Now what is important? Kathy has already told you, wash your hands, sterilize your feeding equipment, sterilize your food, and then you start meal. You take 2 cups of rice, 1 cup of dal, roast it and then dry fry. Noone lekunda veinchadu. It becomes brittle. Then you make a powder of it. ఈ పౌడర్ ని 4 వారాలు వాడొచ్చు. You can use it for 4 weeks. Now after 4 weeks, when you make a fresh powder, it should not be as fine as the first time. Once I have said that you can use it for 4 weeks, so by the time you reach 1.5 years, that is 12 installments, you graduate from a fine powder of rice dal to rice and dal whole. So over 12 installments, you make this change. Now this powder, you take 3 scoops in a bowl, add 1 scoop of pureed vegetable. Again, how do you puree it? The same way that you did for the fruit, you can do the same thing. 3 scoops of rice dal powder, 1 scoop of vegetable puree. What vegetables? I would prefer carrot or beetroot in the morning. In the afternoon, I would prefer some greens. In the evenings, tomato, ridge gourd and potted gourd. Let's make it Telugu. Podduna, carrot gani, beetroot gani, madhyanam akukura, saayantram tomato, sorakaya birakaya, anapakaya birakaya. That is it. Why do we do this? These are soft, that is hard. Takes a little longer, takes a little shorter time to digest easily. So that is the rationale behind it. Now you take this 3 scoops of rice dal powder, 1 scoop of vegetable puree, put it in a pressure cooker, and now Kathy takes over about how to go about pressure cooking it. Kathy.
Okay, so just one small tip which I would say, before you roast the rice and dals, wash the rice, wash the dals, let them dry, then you roast it. Alright, because a lot of preservatives, boric acid, all of them are added, some of those tablets on dals, we don't want all of them to go into our child's digestive system. So that's one tip. Then one more thing I would like to add is, all vegetables need not be pureed. Something which has worked for me is a grater. So I wash the vegetable. Again, choice of, you have to select the vegetable right. It has to be good tasting. And then after peeling it, I grate it. I make sure there are no seeds in the vegetables. Tomatoes, birakai, sorakai, they usually get cooked in a pressure cooker. But yeah, tomato is not something which my kid liked, and I find it difficult to feed to. So what did we do? We have now washed, roasted and powdered the rice and dal mixture. Alright, and then we take the vegetable of choice, wash, peel, grate, then I add it into a container, and then I proceed with pressure cooking. So couple of methods which I have tried, usually this measure also. So I usually use this spoon. This comes with different formula. So 1 spoon of this usually requires half a glass of water. That's what has worked with for a good consistency, which my child also tolerates. So once this is done, I put it into a container. So better to use deep containers. Alright. So less quantity, but there are chances of spillage. So use a deeper container. Right. So once I put all the ingredients into it, now I'll tell you what are the equipment I use. Traditional pressure cooker or the electric rice cooker. So these two I have been using. Started off with the traditional steel pressure cooker. Now there were some positives, there were some negatives. So usually they say the cooking time is supposed to be 30 minutes. Obviously for sterilization and to make sure it is cooked right so that the child can digest properly. So what used to happen in a pressure cooker is, we have a steel plate inside a pressure cooker. We put the container on this. There's water in the cooker and then the mixture goes in. So when I would put the lid on this bowl, I had more chances of spillage. And I had to cook it on the smallest stove top, the smallest burner, and only in sim. Only then I would get a proper cooking time of 30 to 40 minutes. Right? If I put it on high, it will boil, it will spill, and there will be wastage. If I put a lid, the spillage is more. If I use a smaller container, the spillage is more. So the little bit of trial and error goes into this, but yeah, I'm sure you'll figure it out. Okay, so after that, something which has been hassle-free for me.
Now, why should we pressure cook? Number 1, the long chain molecules or the polysaccharides have to get hydrolyzed and be digestible for a child. So for that reason, you have to pressure cook. A pressure cooker gets a higher temperature because you raise the pressure. Unlike an open cooking, which is just 100 degrees, it goes up to 120 degrees, which is good hydrolysis for the long chain molecules. That helps in better digestion, dextrinization of the long chain polysaccharides. The other thing is the protein part also breaks down, the superstructure breaks down. So that causes less allergies. So these are the two reasons why we pressure cook apart from sterilization. 30 minutes on a low flame is a wonderful time to cook. And now let's see what Kathy has brought for us.
So what happens when we put the mixture directly into the pressure cooking container? It can spill and it gets stuck, and the lower surface, the part which is right at the bottom, might get burnt. So that might give a wrong taste or flavor to the child, as well as it causes wastage too. So the right quantity doesn't go into our baby's tummy. So what we generally do is, so we put the mixture into this container. We put this container into the water bath of the electric rice cooker. We put a lid and then we switch it on. So usually it takes 30 to 40 minutes to cook, which is good enough. And once it is done, we get the right consistency of the feed. Again, it depends what age your child is, but generally something which is very smooth and a little runny, so that you can feed the baby, and it shouldn't be too runny, otherwise sometimes the children just snort it and it goes right into the nose. So we don't want very runny consistencies also, right?
Now Kathy has helped you cook the uggu that we traditionally call it in Telugu, or your weaning food as we would call it in English. Now she have made it. Now you start feeding the child. How many times a day? Minimum 2 times, maximum 3 times. What's the general time? Morning, let's say 7, 8 o'clock. Afternoon, let's say 1 or 2. Evening, let's say 7, 8, not crossing 9, definitely not. Why are you doing this? This feed time has to blend into the actual feeding time of a growing child, and it should merge into the school times also. So there is a seamless transition from an infancy into childhood and into a school child. That's the reason for the 3 times. Some kids may not like it 3 times in the very go. So it's okay to give twice and then go on to thrice. That's one. The second thing is you fed the child. The first day, whatever the child has eaten, that is the quantity. You feed that. Don't be in a hurry to increase. After 1 week, you try to increase the quantity by a quarter spoon. Now you might say, how does a quarter spoon matter? It does matter, because over 52 weeks, that's a year, you'll reach from quarter spoon to 12, 13 spoons. That's a good quantity. And this we are trying to achieve over by 1.5 years. And 14 spoons, 13 spoons, 3 times a day is good food. Don't worry about it. After you feed, what do? You can give a little water. Now people generally ask me, how much water to give? There's no quantity. You give water so that they are able to swallow it. Can I give milk? Definitely yes. Just something so that they can swallow. In the summer, they'll ask for more water. You give more water. In the winter, they'll not ask for more water. That's fine. Right? So we have made our rice, dal, vegetable mash, which we have fed 2 to 3 times a day, and we are planning to increase every week by a quarter spoon. Now, what about the consistency? I've already told you. Initially, you made it a fine powder. You're going to increase it to full rice and dal by 1.5. Whatever you made at home, miriyal charu, tomato charu, pappu kattu, sambar miteta, curry miteta, that you add a quarter spoon or half spoon to this puree and to this mash, and that gives them the family taste of things. That you keep increasing every week. So, even though you are giving the same rice and dal, the child is getting a taste of all the flavors of your cooking. And the plan is, if you are increasing it every week, the flavoring part, by 1.5 years, the child should be able to eat from your plate. That's the idea, that's where we want to reach. Now that is about the taste. So 3 things we have addressed: what to put. The ratios are important: 2 parts of rice, 1 part of dal, 1 part of vegetable. Ghee, pressure cooking, from powder to rice dal, from quarter spoon to 12 or 13 spoons, from a very little flavor to high flavor. Now 7 months are over, and is it time to introduce something else? Yes. Instead of rice alone, we can add other cereals: wheat, jowar, bajra. We can add millets, ragi, kurralu, sajjalu. All this can be added. But again, our people make the mistake of going only ragi, but that is wrong. It has to be cereals 2 part, 1 part dal and 1 part vegetable to make it a balanced diet. The rest of the procedure remains the same. The other thing we add is egg. If the family eats eggs, you can start on an egg. You can start with yolk, you can start with white, you can give it in any form. you can try it out. So this is what we want to tell you about infant feeding. I hope you liked it, and if there are any suggestions from your side, practical tips so that mothers can have their time a little easy, a little more fun, do it. Thank you.